Good
Oh,
afternoon, everyone, as Shane's face is all up in
there
the
we go.
screen.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Palantalk. I'm Nick Perro, founder here at Banner and Backbone, joined by my good friend Shane Urich, member of Banner and Backbone, independent geopolitical analyst, and
Guy who knows too much.
guy who knows too much, guy who's predicted too much sometimes, guy who has seen the future and come back and said, nah, this shit is fucked up.
The dinosaurs were better. And let me tell you, running from a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex is it's not that great, you know.
We're basically running from our own meteor right now, except we're the meteor crashing into the planet. So Shane Urich, firebrand, and independent analyst, we've got a great discussion for you today. Hey, everyone, as you start coming on in, hit that heart, smash it down, hit the subscribe button to join us, join Banner and Backbone, follow Shane and myself. We're in for a show today. As usual, we're in for a discussion today. I've got some things I want to cover. Shane has some things he wants to cover. There's a lot of news that has been going on in the world of military and tech.
It's all kind of together. I know we do a lot of this discussion, but to be honest, it's like you can't have one without the other. None of it's happening in isolation. You're looking at the public corruption. You're looking at the funneling of money from Don and, Donnie Diaper, our shitty president, and not my president, whatever. I hate him.
The Tangerine Tyrant.
Funneling money into his family and his friends, and the whole thing we talked about with the Pentagon and Peter Thiel and the whole drone revolving door. All of this is now related. It's not, there's nothing in isolation, and everything is connected. And so we have to have this discussion. Obviously, there's the important part of, the fact that our flag should be at half-mast every day because we're fighting a war and our soldiers are dying. And we need to bring attention to that.
Oh, did you hear that there's now Iran is now offering a $30,000 bounty for every service member killed, and is
for the proxies
willing to double that bounty for any woman who kills a service member, which means our service members now have a target on their heads. The service members have a huge target on their heads.
Yeah.
And this means service members in uniform and out of uniform. So our service members are no longer safe in the streets.
Yep. If you're in Iraq,
we started an illegal war against Iran. We are blockading them. We are doing dumb shit. Our numbers are not being reported correctly. The Pentagon and CENTCOM cannot be trusted at this point to report accurate numbers and figures on soldiers wounded or dead. And so we are left to our own devices, which is where Shane has comes in help in a lot of ways, is because he reports on it and he talks about it and he provides and has been providing really strong, structurally good information for us over these last few months to ensure that we are all well educated and know what's going on. And so we're going to talk more. We're going to pick up from where we left off last week here in a little bit, which is where we were talking about the rare earth minerals, the trade, the embargoes that have been going on from China, what this means for our readiness, how under ready we are because we have wasted and used all of our interceptors and we can't build any more of them because there are embargoes against us, because we are a rogue asshole nation that just wants to take over everything. And
share what you shared with me about, in the spirit of us being a rogue asshole nation that wants to take over everybody.
Yeah, so let's start. We're going to start today in Latin America. So I just posted a video not too long ago that's going out on all the socials around this, but after killing hundreds of unknown persons in boat strikes across the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean,
which cost us military eyes, which is kind of crazy, right? That's like a big deal. Not really talked about, but yeah.
Yeah. So the U.S. military is now expanding its campaign in Latin America to land operations. So, Secretary of Wannabes Pete Hegseth announced last week during a Panama visit that the U.S. is extending its military campaign from maritime strikes to joint land operations with Guatemala, Colombia, and Honduras. Give me one second while I pull up some more of the other information around that, because it is very important that we talk about this one. And there are conflicting reports coming out from these nations, to include Guatemala saying that they have not reached an agreement for joint land operations. Um, there are experts in Latin American studies which are very, very concerned that these are going to lead to civilian casualties and a huge backlash from both Latin American nations and citizens of the United States, because the Trump administration is doing what it calls domination of the Western Hemisphere. They're asserting domination over the Western Hemisphere. We've been talking about this a lot on Palantalk. We've talked about this since we started and before Palantalk, is that the U.S. is in a state of attempting to dominate the Western Hemisphere. This is a dominionist philosophy. It's also part of the technocracy that the tech bros and tech oligarchs would like to set up. Is they would like to set up fiefdoms and an oligarchy that's encompasses the entirety of the Americas, to include Canada, Greenland, Central, and all of South America, because we're a bunch of assholes and we are the terrorists. We are the ones who are terrorizing other nations. We're doing it here in the Americas, and we're doing it abroad. We're also letting our allies down in areas such as South Korea, where we are now pulling back on joint operations and basically giving in to a dictator. And the USS Abraham Lincoln, on good news, is coming home finally, but it's being replaced by the USS George Washington, leaving the Pacific without a carrier strike group for the first time in ever, since we've had one out there. Oh, and guess what? Taiwan has been doing national defense drills, and China is going to take advantage of it and is doing maritime operations that they weren't doing before.
I'm going to put out.
But yeah, Latin America, we're going to try and dominate in Latin America. We've done such a good job so far setting up dictatorships across Latin America that now we just need to go in and dominate them, because those dictatorships have not done what we wanted. They have not listened to us, because we're terrible empire builders in the US, and we need to admit that. And right now they're trying to build a new empire, which is the domination of the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Next, good news, shifting from Latin America, not really good news. Next piece of terrible news is over the weekend and last week we saw multiple strikes, and Shane and I talked about this on Palantalk at the beginning of the week. Last week was
about it. Oh my God!
The strikes on, what was it? The UAE's oil tankers.
UAE's tankers, the Saudis' Aramco facility, which does like 400,000 barrels a day, has been shut down since like the 12th, I want to say. And that also takes a shitload of oil on top of the UAE's tankers. So yeah, keep going. I just wanted to add that little bit too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for adding that in there. And so the Strait of Hormuz is closed. No matter what Donald Trump wants to say, he wants to claim that we are going to seize it and make it a U.S. territory, which good fucking luck in doing that, because Iran's not going to cede land. Oman's not going to cede land for the U.S. to take over and turn into a territory. And how are you going to make a plot of ocean a territory? Like, that doesn't even make sense. It's like me saying, I want the moon now, so it's my territory. That's about as realistic as this is. So like shipping has slowed to about zero. On Sunday, 0 tankers went through the Strait of Hormuz. On Saturday, 5 went through. The week before, there were 31. Before we started strikes on the Strait of Hormuz in Iran, back in February, 7 months ago, there were, on average, 130 tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz a day.
And these are the bulk. I mean,
Bulk,
things are
bulk.
humongous. They're the super.
And this is just on oil. We're not even talking about the natural resources that come through, the fertilizer that is no longer moving through the Strait of Hormuz. 30% of the world's fertilizer used to go through the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to have a food shortage and crisis in this country.
On top of an El Nino that's going to cause massive droughts, the worst in history, again, since 1944 or something.
Where California produces roughly a third, if not more, of all the food that gets eaten in the United States.
We'll get some
and a ton of food around the world.
Yep.
On top of all of this great news is the U.S. Strategic Oil Reserves now fall below 300 million barrels amid the Iran war. This is the lowest we have been in 40 years. The lowest we have been. Biden had us decently low. We had 400, I think they were saying 415-ish barrels with Biden. That was also because he did a sell-off. He sold barrels. The Trump administration has now put us even lower, and they are doing an oil sell-off as well. They're calling it a trade where we're going to get oil
to Europe
back. They want leverage, but what it's going to do is actually it's going to reduce our oil barrel count for our strategic reserves to around 243 million barrels, which sounds like a lot, except there's very little wiggle room at that point in case of an emergency. We've already released hundreds of millions of barrels of oil to keep the price of gas low-ish, but we're over $4 a gallon now, average around the US. And that is not include. And yes, there are places like California where it is much higher because there are also higher restrictions on oil and gas in California, where they have been trying to move towards electric vehicles and non-pollutant types of vehicles. So there are higher gas taxes. But on average, the price of gas across the US is now over $4. In the last year, from a year ago, Americans on average are spending $2.35 billion more a week on gasoline.
You want another number to back that up? I'll give it.
Yeah.
So on top of that, since the Iran war started, Americans have spent $73 billion on energy. Additionally, just increased $73 billion burden on the American people. Just since the war started, right? On top of Nick giving us a 2.5 billion a week number. 2.35 billion a week.
A week. From last year. 2.35 billion more than last year. Mm-hmm. And with polls coming out that 69% of Americans are concerned, very concerned about rising costs, and 51% of Americans continue to see the war in Iran as illegal and unjust. There's a huge problem here, and we're going to face an economic and energy crisis within months because they're going to continue to sell off barrels. They're going to continue to release barrels, and I think that estimate of only having 243 million barrels left, say by the end of the year, is going to be too high. I think we're going to go down really low.
National Petroleum Reserve coming out and saying this?
Yeah, this is for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
Okay, so we should also probably not trust them, again, because they're directly attached to the government, right? So they're probably being pressured to release higher numbers than actually exist. It's kind of like I apply the belligerent source rule, which was originally for combatants in a war. I now apply that to every institution in the United States of America.
Yeah, you have to apply the belligerent source rule, which is we don't believe them because they are hostile belligerents until we are proven with enough evidence that they are speaking the truth.
Correct.
Cannot trust what this government is saying, and that's part of the problem. That's part of the point, is that Donald Trump and his regime are making it so that the government cannot be believed on anything. Because if they have less trust in the government, people are less likely to be engaged civically, they're less likely to vote, and the Trump administration can continue to seize more and more power and become a sitting dictatorship that never leaves. That is what they want. Finally, on top of the fact that the strait is closed, we are down to below 300 million barrels amid the Iran war. Donald Trump decided to be his asshole self again this weekend and is violently threatening military action against against Oman over the Strait of Hormuz dispute, saying, let me pull it up, there was a Fox News interview about this, and basically saying that we will bomb the shit out of you if you get in our way. Bomb the shit out of you if you will get in our way. This comes on the heels of Oman and Iran, apparently from reporting out of The Guardian, that they're close to a joint deal that they call the Joint Management Plan, which means Oman and Iran are going to put a toll and a tax on the use of the Strait of Hormuz, with all incoming traffic being monitored by Iran.
Service fees. They're framing it as service fees.
Yep, and all external traffic, exiting traffic, being watched by Oman, which means, they're going to charge service fees and safety fees, which, guess what, guys? 7 months ago, weren't fucking needed.
No one needed that shit.
It's almost like if we didn't start this stupid fucking war, these wouldn't be needed. And we're threatening another nation. We are now threatening to bomb the shit out of, which I don't know where we're going to get these extra missiles from, but to bomb the shit out of another nation in this area, in this region. And we're going to quickly coalesce a treaty of Middle Eastern nations or Southeastern Asian nations, or I guess Southwestern Asian nations, whatever we want to call this region. We're going to create a new allyship between a bunch of nations against us. We are going to make it harder for ourselves to do anything. And every time we negotiate with them, it's going to be in bad faith. They're not negotiating with us in good faith. Iran is no longer negotiating in person with American diplomats. They're going through intermediaries only, because America has refused to do anything in its negotiations because we fucking suck. We are the terrorists right now. We are terrorizing other nations. Donald Trump threatening to bomb the shit out of Oman is what a terrorist would do, because he's an abuser and a terrorist. That's what he does. He abuses and terrorizes other people. That's what he's doing against Oman. And if we go back to our first slide, that's what we're going to do in Latin America. The threat of ground operations is a domination tactic that we're going to use to make other nations submissive to us.
You know what comes?
Their plan is to dominate the Americas and the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, I have a concern when I hear that, and the first thing I think of is this is the quickest way to make insurgent groups to cause danger, direct danger to Americans at home.
Yes.
By creating a hostile intent toward the United States in a country that is literally attached to a pretty much contiguous land body to the United States. You're creating with cartels that are already well established and entrenched in Mexico. You are now looking at a situation which
we arm, by the way. We arm those cartels. Yeah. The reason that those cartels took off in Mexico and in Latin America is because we sold arms to them. We are the arms dealers. we're the problem. We're the problem, y'all.
Yep. Yep. It's, but I'll say not for long. I mean, that's the flip side of this coin. I mean, it's going to get, when I say not for long, it's still going to suck. I'm not saying, I mean, long, we're talking about the world terms, not, the fact that the next several years are going to suck. At least in terms of, I think the best case scenario is we oust these people, impeach them, charge them to the fullest extent for treason, as is laid out under the Constitution, to sufficiently demonstrate that we think these people should be held accountable for destroying our country. And then we prostrate ourselves and we beg for forgiveness. That's it. That's our option. I mean, regardless, and you don't have to agree with me here, and but regardless, I think that no matter what, we're not responsible directly. We can say it's our government, but we are responsible as a population to the rest of the world. We might not feel like we're doing this, but as far as Venezuela is concerned, we should have revolted. We should have overthrown the government. We did, us doing what they did to Venezuela. That's on us to stop it. Now, they understand the government's doing it, but there's nobody else who could stop this. It's our responsibility. So when I say we need to beg for forgiveness, we need to say, I'm sorry it took us so long. Please give us a seat at a table and let us just try and rebuild our country. Because we do need that global community. This is a global economy.
We do. Yeah. We need that because we can't be isolationists in a global society. Yeah. We can pull back in areas. We do need to pull back in many areas. We don't need to be as spread out around the world as we are. And right now, Doc Eric in our chat, absolutely. We don't have a Congress. We don't have a legislature which would do its damn job.
Yeah, we need November.
And that job is to impeach, convict, and remove and charge for treason. Yeah. Because treason is both a judicial and a legislative event. Mm-hmm. Treason is charged through Congress and through the judiciary. Mm-hmm. We need both to go through it. That includes the Supreme Court needs to be charged with treasonous acts for those who are committing it. If they're committing treason, they need to be charged for it. If you are giving aid and comfort to the enemies of our nation, that is treason.
Yeah.
And this is going to cause, on top of the fact that we are now labeling folks as terrorists for no fucking reason, what this is going to cause is what this is going to cause in the end is we're going to be less safe here at home.
Yeah.
Americans are less safe abroad already because we are a pariah. We are a pariah nation, and Americans are going to be treated less safely in foreign countries.
Yeah.
Whether you participate in it or not, you're going to get treated differently than you would have 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we have decimated the counterintelligence operations within our own nation. And there are going to be risks associated now, further risks of attacks on our home soil.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think all of this.
And then the tech bros are going to use that as an excuse to surveillance state the fuck out of the U.S.
They'd love that, wouldn't they? They'd really like that. They would love that, and I think the word that just keeps coming to mind as I listen to you is consequences. And most importantly, I think that what we're learning is that these people in charge don't actually understand what they are at all. They have no concept of what a consequence is because they keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. And the mistake is very simple. The world is complex. Geopolitics is complex. having leverage, knowing when to use your resources, when not to, when to consolidate, which you never should do, all of your capital into one place, and when you definitely should not do that, when to create dependencies for financial enrichment versus when that financial dependency or that dependency is a problem. It's all back to consequences. This comment here, blowback. It's the blowback. It's the blowback of making a series of incredibly stupid decisions so quickly, rapid fire in a row. And then on top of that, layering this idea that these people don't know what a consequence is. So they don't think about the soldiers that die. They think about, I have lots of missiles. I can win whatever I want. Just like I
It's
can.
not even that they don't think about the soldiers that die. They don't
They don't
care about the soldiers that die. They don't care about the consequence. I think that they understand the consequences of their actions. They just don't care.
So, you know what I get stuck on then is that they are going inevitably towards their own doom, towards being jailed, towards all of these things. They're going faster and faster and faster. It's almost like
They don't, but the thing is, they see themselves, because the government in the US currently has been captured by a fascistic regime in all three branches on the federal level. And so they don't see those consequences ever coming, which is why they don't care, which is why they're so blatant and brazen about the actions that they're doing, about the war crimes that were committed in the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean. We have no confirmation of those boats that were struck, any of those, that any of them were actually terrorists or trafficking narcotics. Many of them are believed to be fishermen.
Yeah.
And that was it. Many of those 200 people, that unknown persons, are believed to be fishermen. Yeah. We had one on a naval vessel, and we had two of them, and we released them. We released them back to their home nations. If they were truly narcotics traffickers and terrorists, they wouldn't have gone back to their home nation. Oh, and they were told to delete evidence around it too.
Yep.
To not keep the medical recordings, to not record anything, to not keep any of it.
Yeah. Shout out to Melissa Morgan for
yes,
work
Francis, I'm going to hit that point. Is they are preparing for pardons, which is why they don't believe there will be any consequences, because they think they can pardon their way out of this. It's why they don't care. This part is really, really crucial. They believe because they have presidential immunity right now, and because the pardon privilege exists, that they are never going to suffer consequences on a national scale. Donald Trump is proving why the pardon power needs to be removed.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has proven that. And the only way forward out of all of this is, whether they're pardoned or not, they get tried for these crimes. Yeah. The American people must demand that they be tried for these crimes. But they think presidential immunity applies for these behaviors.
Yeah.
They believe it. So does the Supreme Court, which is why they gifted him these powers, which is why the Supreme Court would go along with it, because they believe in executive privilege above all things. They want a dictator who has no consequences for his actions. They will claim all of what he has done is within the purview of the presidency and cannot be investigated. Guess what? Presidential immunity can be taken away and will be taken away, and it will be retroactively applied to all of the acts that are anti-constitutional, treasonous, war crimes. I don't care if Donald Trump tries to pardon Pete Hegseth. He will be tried. And if the U.S. is too dumb to do it itself, we'll bring it to the international criminal courts, and we will try them at The Hague. And we will get justice and accountability. We cannot undo the damage, but we can get accountability.
Yeah. It'll come. This is kind of the thing about accountability is they can capture the systems of government. They can capture the levers of the enforcement of the law. They can capture the military. They can capture all these things. Be my guest. You can capture it. We don't want you to, but now you're here. You're doing it. Okay. So understand that there's, again, consequences. When you hike up the price of gas and you don't raise wages and you funnel more and more money into the uber rich, the more you take from people, the more you give them a reason to have a problem with you. And we have a lot of reasons to have problems with these people. And there is always a social contract. I talked about this on the dialogue with John Oliver the other day. And I'll put out that episode this week, I think, if I haven't already. But basically, we were talking about, Jean Locke and the social contract, or Jean-Jacques Rousseau and the social contract. And the principle is basically the citizen gives to the government and the government gives to the citizen. If either party chooses to break that contract is the underlying foundation of any government. Our contract has been broken, which means the contract, regardless of the current government right now, is up for rewriting. And so we are going to decide as a country what we want that contract to be, because it has been broken. So we have an opportunity to rewrite that. And if we feel that they're not enforcing the contract, I believe, it is my belief, that we have a right to tear it up and draft a new one. And I think that is something they can't limit or take away. That is something they can't undo. They can't, they are forgetting that it takes two. You need to have an enabler, and we're just about done enabling, I think.
I think so too. I think, and this is where we need people, this is where we need to remind people that the only way this stops is by us standing up, or whatever mode of moving that you have. And I understand, not saying that in an ableist way of you have to stand up and go out and do something. If you are physically disabled and cannot, totally understand. I totally understand. And now is a time for sacrifice. We are in a time where we cannot sit back and be idle and sit on our laurels and wake up every morning and go, oh, the world is bad. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. You know what you can do? You can go call your representatives and your senators. You can go to their offices. You can talk with them. And if they don't respond, you join an organization that protests them. And if you are a veteran or a family member of a veteran, I'm going to promote this event real quick, is on November 11th, on Veterans Day, Veterans Fighting Fascism is organizing a rally in DC.
Nice.
Where we will, as veterans, family members, and friends of veterans, we will be holding a rally in DC to demand, because it's the day after the election, is that we will demand that Congress do its damn job and uphold their oath and count the results and uphold the results.
And they better swear them in immediately. Immediately swear them in.
We can't do that, unfortunately, unless we're going to break the
What about, I guess Mike refused, when Mike refused to swear in the congresswoman from Arizona.
Yeah, we will be demanding that they, as I am demanding in my way, that they're going to, and what we talk about is we will be demanding that Congress do its job and that Congress swear in those duly elected representatives and senators, whether they like the results or not.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was trying to say. I apologize if
and whether they like the results or not, they need to do their job, because they took an oath to the Constitution, not to a person. We as veterans are upholding our oaths, and we're putting ourselves on the line to go to DC after the election so that we can demand that Congress do its damn job. And I'm asking you guys, whoever can make it, if you can make it, to come to DC and join us in demanding that Congress do their job. Because
November 11th.
that is how we stop this. That is a thing that's going to happen right after the election. But leading up to the elections, part of that demand is that Americans, you do your job. And your job as citizen first is to protect this nation from its enemies and to protect the freedom and fairness of elections, which, no, we do not have fair elections in this nation. We also don't really have free ones, but that can be debated by others on whether we have free and fair elections.
Yeah.
I don't believe we do, because gerrymandering, poll taxing, the Save America Act that they want to pass create unfree elections. They create poll taxes. They make it impossible for people with disabilities to vote. They make it harder or impossible for service members to vote. Because if you're overseas, you require a mail-in ballot.
And they're in a war zone.
And they're in a war zone, and that shit is hard to get to.
Yeah.
So we're already restricting service members' freedoms. That's part of the contract, is you restrict your own freedoms in some ways as being part of the service. However, you're still eligible to vote. And voting by mail is an equity thing for disability rights. And they're taking those services away so that they can steal an election. Part of the dominations of America requires them to stay in power forever. Yep. So, Shane, I've taken up the first half of our show to discuss these parts.
Yeah.
Are there anything else you want to add before we shift into your side and some of the discussion points you wanted to talk about today?
I think everything you said is right. I mean, I think that I definitely would like to see. I'm gonna try and go to join you. I think that it's an important time, and might be kind of in a position, hopefully at that time, that I could come. So to everyone in the chat, if you can make it, I would encourage you to do your best to do it. Especially, I presume Nick is going to be there.
I will be there.
So if you want to see Nick, and quite possibly myself, maybe this would be
you'll get to meet me. You'd get to meet folks like Chris Goldsmith, the Angry Malvet, U.S. Marine Corps veteran Matt Gordon, who is on a lot of series, who's very outspoken as well. There are some other incredible veterans that'll be there. I believe Melissa Corrigan is going to be there as well. I'll get to meet Melissa for the first time, which is freaking awesome. And so come, if you're able to be there, join us. Melissa Corrigan is a Navy veteran. She is an incredible writer, and she is an incredible advocate in her community in the Virginia area, around Norfolk, Virginia. She has done reporting with us around the flock security and safety cameras. She does a lot in her local community, including going to her town halls and making a fuss, as she should, and everybody else should be doing. So if you don't know Melissa Corrigan yet, please come find her on Substack.
Go find
She's
Melissa
awesome.
Corrigan.
Go find her. Go support her work. She's been a friend of Banner and Backbone and a part of our group since the early days of the what we've been doing.
I'd say our journey.
She's amazing.
Our journey.
Yeah, she is amazing. So go support Melissa. Go find her work. Go like, share, and restack all of the things that she's doing, because it's very important. Yeah, the very early days. Back in my day, when the dinosaurs were here. All right, Shane, what you got for us today, dude?
Or Patriot interceptors. So
yeah, back in the day when we had stockpiles of munitions and our interceptors were not at an all-time low, and we were not giving away billions and billions and billions of dollars yet to the drone manufacturers.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think I got some information we can talk about. And there's a couple things I think that are kind of worth discussing in terms of what's going on with Iran and everything. I think we kind of covered pretty much everything. Is still um, pretty unstable regarding uh, everything that we are currently seeing uh, develop, particularly Saudi Arabia, the proxy situation. We now have Nick brought out that there's a bounty on U.S. troops. So that's certainly to encourage their, what's the word I'm looking for? It's certainly to encourage their the proxies behavior and to incentivize them. Basically, it's not really all too different than what I'm kind of seeing when you're looking at like Ukraine, right? They incentivize drone operators to get kills by giving them points to give them more drones and things. So not really that different, Hey, Kataib Hezbollah, you blow up a radar, we'll give you 70 grand, or you kill a soldier, we'll give you 30K. Like that's just like incentivizing operations. It's going to incentivize an uptick in tempo, and it's important to remember that whether or not Iran is fighting the United States at the moment, its proxies are not subject to those same pauses and ceasefires. And in particular, we've seen escalations again towards Gulf state allies. Allies in, I don't know why they're still allies. They're paying for it. But, it is really that kind of deterrence architecture that is totally broken. I think that's really the biggest thing that we're going to see coming out of all of this. One, is that U.S. defense guarantees are effectively cooked. They're not a thing anymore. I've been doing analysis on, quite a few things. Particularly, we talked last week about this ban list and procurement bans and controls. And I have a lot more information regarding some of the specifics. And we don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but I just kind of want to read you the names on these lists. Some of them will stick out to you, some of them won't. But the other big thing about this list is that it targets pretty much the entire United States loitering munitions, drone, and drone stack that we've been talking about a long time, that they've been trying to build, this revolving door, the United States National Drone Association. You have all of the companies that build drones that the Trump's sons are involved with. All of this whole thing got thrown on the list. And this is arguably as important because you have this list, and we'll go through the names really quick. I just want to read a couple of them. You'll recognize some of them right away, and then some of them you won't. So, of course, we said Lockheed Martin is on this list. Raytheon, they make the interceptors for the Patriot and the radars. Lockheed makes the THAAD interceptors, F-35, and PAC-3 missiles. General Atomics is on there. They make the MQ-1 and MQ-9 Reaper drones, which Iran has shot down, to my knowledge, at least 31 of thus far. Our fleet was somewhere around 170 or something like that. So we've taken, like, last I checked, it was like 17% attrition on our entire fleet, which is crazy. There on the list, you have the Boeing Defense, our F-15s and Apaches. Both of those have seen considerable wear and tear during this conflict. So those parts are now on the list. Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control. They make our HIMAR rockets and our missile systems that we use on some of our naval vessels. The same applies to just about every Lockheed Martin subsidiary that supplies our defense complex. So there's Lockheed Martin, but of course, all these companies have subcompanies that have offshore, whatever. So these companies, this is like, it's not like they're just saying, well, and these are a procurement ban. That means they just can't get stuff, right? So the whole Lockheed Martin stack, the entire Raytheon stack, I'm going to call it a stack. And when I say a stack, it just means everything underneath that company. It's different like arms of what that does, right? So the whole Lockheed stack, the entire General Dynamics stack is facing procurement bans by the Ministry of Finance. What does that cover? Lockheed Martin, the General Dynamics, that's just general munitions. It's information technology systems for the DoD. I'd be interested to see actually if they have crossover with any of our other companies that we monitor here, that being Palantir, and some of these other, I'm forgetting the name. It's not NVIDIA, it's the other Oracle, Oracle and
Oracle, Palantir. We've also talked about, damn it, I can't remember the name. They sell telecommunications devices that have been linked to.
The ones who are trafficking through Syria and then Turkey and then getting all those drone parts to Russia.
Yeah, we talked with Cheech about it a while ago.
Yes, we did.
And I can't remember the name. I'll get back to the name.
Yeah,
take it away again, Shane.
But that's interesting because when you have an information technology company, there's possibly overlap that makes those companies vulnerable to additional controls. So, and this now I'm reading as I'm learning, the scope expands beyond the United States. Now they've actually started to use this on foreign producers, allies as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got a bunch of other companies here. Some of them intercoastal electronics. These are all parts basically for our missile defense. System Studies and Simulation Company. They do all of our simulation training. Iron Mountain Solutions, engineering, IT, logistics. Whether you're looking at applied technologies, more engineering, you have Anduril, which is an important one. This one
also, the company we were talking about just before is called Ubiquity. And the owner of Ubiquity is Robert Pera, who is a part owner or full owner of the Memphis Grizzlies. And if you are a Grizzlies fan, you should be celebrating the players and protesting the owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's not the players' fault. Mm-mm. Not the players' fault. Do not protest. If you go and protest somebody like Robert Pera, who owns Ubiquity and the Memphis Grizzlies, be sure that you are not protesting the players.
Yeah.
Protest the owner because he's the problem, not them.
That's good. I mean, people do that. I think it's important you brought that up because it's like, are we blaming the soldiers for being at war in Iran? No, it's not their fault. They just wanted college. They just wanted an education. They just were in poverty and were looking for a way out, or maybe their family served and they felt that it was something that was important for them to do. Like Nick, regardless, none of them joined to go and, kill, destroy global shipping and bomb children. Like no one signs up for that. I mean, maybe somebody does, but like not everybody. I'm going to be careful with absolutes, but like in the sense of like, yeah, most people aren't there to do that. We shouldn't blame the players. We're not blaming the soldiers. We blame the people who put them there. To kind of keep going here, this is where it kind of gets really important, is we start to see them going into drones. So you have Pacific Rim Defense, great movie. Don't know about the company. Defense logistics support, but now you get into maritime tactical systems, Anduril Industries. So these are drones. This is how we are planning to build our drone industry to compete in the modern world, because there is no question now that loitering munitions, drones, and missiles, right, are the future of war. That is, now whether or not this is sustainable with the current global supply is another question. I think there's a world where maybe we end up backsliding a little bit, going back to a more crude form of war, because it's just impossible to get this stuff. But the scary thing is that's not going to apply to everybody, and whoever has that supply, which is China pretty much, is going to become absurdly powerful. And that is something kind of we want to consider when we're looking at how they basically just put every single one of these drone companies, the naval drone companies, you have AVEX Aerospace, which is unmanned loitering munitions. Loitering munitions is a Shawhead drone. It's like any kind of thing that will basically spend X amount of time in the air or somewhere else waiting to then attack a target instead of a basically weapon that you fire and it is immediately going to go to that target and impact. So it gives you a bit more flexibility. You can have a Shawhead, circle for several hours and then pick its target, right? Some of them are pre-programmed, but all of these companies are the ones that would be coming up with the countermeasures, the means to intercept these drones, the means to deploy them at scale in favor of the United States. And they literally, every single one, if you go down here, and the last 20 or so companies are drone companies. I'm just going to go through a couple of them. Shield AI, very important, has been doing some incredible work in Ukraine. And its drones are tested there. Would be incredible for us to have this kind of weapon and its surveillance, reconnaissance, interceptors, things like that. Drone interceptor, very, very effective drone. One of the best in the world, actually, now on a procurement ban list, which means Ukraine can't even get those drones because if they want to get the drones from the company, they're subject to penalty now. So not only that, but even these companies that were helping other countries fighting for democracy are now losing the ability to support Ukraine, for example, with their own resources. You have, Cyberlux, more drones and EW counter systems, so the means to counter those things. And I'm gonna, you keep going down the list here. I'll find a way to post this so you guys can all go and find this information too. But in the spirit of time, of these 46 companies, the vast majority is these up and coming drone companies. So what they're targeting is two things at once. You have them hitting our basically prime defense industrial complex. When you put every single, General Dynamics, Lockheed, Boeing, Raytheon on there, it means that what's currently there is now turned off. Now, what they did at the same time, which is arguably more important, is they just turned off all of our ability to be competitive and build a military to fit modern needs, because that is where we were investing. Now, investing is a word where they were funneling money into these companies to do the thing because it was justified. They could give all of the Pentagon all this money for the drone initiatives. Now, you could wonder, though, it would be interesting if they had done what the Pentagon initially wanted to do, which was produce its own drones, not go to commercial or public companies. This would be harder. This would be harder for China to do. But since they're all individual companies, they just throw them on a list, and they can do this, and it doesn't cause a lot of global friction for them. What it does do is it deprives these companies that have public-facing elements as well from a significant portion of their profits if they can't deliver on this, which they won't be able to if they can't procure the raw materials to build it. Then that is no longer, that's not profit they can count on. They're going to have to pay that back. So even if we don't give it back, it's money burned. They might as well just pile up the cash and burn it one way or the other. So, when we're looking at this, it's really important to note that this isn't just our ability to resupply now, it's our ability to be a competitive military in the future. And that's really important. So your question then might be, well, Shane, how do they get around that? Well, can't they go and have their allies in different countries produce those weapons? Like, can't they buy them from a different place? When you have things like a procurement ban, that's what actually stops those kind of workarounds. And then these countries, if they do allow it, are then subject to penalty. So now these companies actually were put on a list that is a export control list, not a procurement ban. That just means that they have a lot more, hoops to go through. It slows down the entire process, and it's going to essentially um, makes it economically unreasonable in a lot of ways, and it slows down their ability to actually produce these weapons at speed. But this also, to me, reads as China demonstrating in a very similar way to what Iran is doing. Both separately, they're not publicly aligned, but regardless, if you see something going on and you can, pile on that to add to your benefit, there absolutely is some very easy evidence to see that they've slowly been doing this. So Hensoldt is a company in Germany, very important, was put on an export control list in April. FN Browning is a Belgium company put on the list as well. That they make firearms and actually civilian arms as well. Excalibur, which is Czechoslovakian, put on the list, armored vehicles, artillery, ammunition. Another Czech company as well, and its 3 subsidiaries. Now, where it gets important is Japan, because Japan is one of the only other 2 countries, Germany and Japan, that is allowed to build Patriot missiles. Okay, and in a lot of our systems, but is Japan. Japan got smacked, and not only did they get smacked, but they got smacked in the public sector as well. Now, this is where it's different. A lot of these other companies are majority military companies. They're trying to control the ability of the world to rapidly scale its military, while China is able to rapidly scale its military, right? So I can do it, but you can't, right? Is the rule that China is running. Japan has been facing a lot of pressure. The U.S. is clearly abandoning the Western Pacific. Like Nick was saying, it's the first time we've never had haven't had a carrier there in ever, right?
Ever since
So
we've started
yeah,
keeping carriers everywhere.
and what's even crazier is China has three. China has 3 carriers, and we just took our one away. Already, that's not like that's overwhelming odds. That is already an ideal engagement with one carrier. Like the Navy, no captain in their right mind or admiral would say, we're going to get into this fight. No way do you do that, because it's like you can think of historical battles in World War II. I can't tell you how many times I can think of, the Japan. They were so worried about Japan because of the volume of carriers. It's why we built so damn many so quickly, because they had all of these carriers, and it allowed them to conquer the entire Western Pacific. Like they got it done. So Japan has been trying to step up. It's trying to change its constitution to allow it to make weapons for war, and give it more ability to do those kind of um, things in that regard. But now they're saying we need to build our own defense. China doesn't like that. They've been beefing. If you're following that, I was for a while, but naturally the world is crazy. So, but I do know that there's a strong base for competition here, particularly an animosity and at a great scale. Japan is nationalizing. It's facing a population crisis. Birth rate's very low. People are very unhappy with the way the economy is, and that kind of thing. So it's a very contentious time. But what's important about this is not only did they attack defense, they attacked these public companies. These are names you will know: Mitsubishi, Heavy Industries Shipbuilding; Subaru, just Subaru, just Subaru Corporation. It's like everything Subaru, not just so, which is unique. This is like them saying, Ford, you're on the list, right? Big deal. Mitsui is another one that they are using. Mitsubishi, we all know who Mitsubishi is. You have Hitachi on here as well. Mitsubishi, the nuclear fuel as well. The Mitsubishi also is responsible for missile guidance, radar, things like that. So these are the companies that are capable of producing these other weapons, and now they're being put on the list. And they've also demonstrated that they're not afraid to put a publicly traded civilian company on these lists. And that's not a idle threat, in my opinion. That is a, we can do it to Japan and we'll do it to you. But Japan is being outwardly hostile towards us right now. Right? They're being really hostile. And the United States has been pretty nice to China in the sense of like not threatening to bomb them and insulting Xi Jinping, and saying, yeah, like, it's not personal. Right now with Japan, it's personal. Okay. But it very easily could be personal. And in November, with the rare earth truce coming up, that rare earth truce paused the rare earth controls on our civilian economy. China can do one of two things with this when it comes up. And I think it's entirely dependent on how the United States continues to act in the Middle East. The more dangerous, aggressive, and destabilizing the United States becomes, the more incentive and the less, pushback the world can give China for doing something like hitting a global company like Google, right? Because doing something to Google has much, 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 much larger implications on the global economy than it's going to on, per se, just attacking, Raytheon, which actually has massive implications on all of the world because everyone uses Patriots because we told them they were the best and we'd never run out and our stockpiles are infinite and we're the most invincible, impressive military in the world. And yeah, so
we're
not anymore. We were, and we could have, but do I think we needed to be ever? Maybe for a time, but to be honest, I think that we have so much domestically, like we don't need to be everywhere else. We don't need this coercion. And like if we just took care of ourselves and had good safety guidelines and things like that, I think we could sustainably remove certain materials from the earth. I think we could have sustainable production of a great many things if we put $1 trillion into sustainable clean energy and sustainable renewable mining practices. We'd be in a different country, but we're not. We're putting that into weapons we can't build. So that's the first thing about all of this, is that you have all these companies. This list is expanded. They're using it to pressure our international allies. So the people that could help us maybe get around this are also feeling the heat, which is important. Germany being on that list says, hey, Germany, just so you know, and Germany is leading the rearmament in Europe. Germany has a strong industrial base. Germany can't afford to have something like that slapped on Rheinmetall. If you put a procurement ban on Rheinmetall, you turn off all of Europe's, a huge portion of Europe's ability to rearm, to defend against Russia. The argument is China at this point. I don't necessarily. I am done saying that anything is not going to happen. I'd say it's kind of unlikely, but China could attack, Guam right now. Guam is currently defended by a singular THAAD battery, which we have depleted the majority of the interceptors for. A single one. The whole territory of Guam.
Because we're dumb.
They've pulled Patriot systems out of South Korea. There is no effectively, with the current air defense bubble, we need to abandon the entirety of our Okinawa positions because we cannot effectively defend them from Chinese missile attack. The only intelligent thing to do is to abandon over half of the bases that we have in the Western Pacific right now and consolidate, because we literally cannot defend them. Those soldiers, should China decide to send waves of missiles at those bases, they will all die because there's literally like nothing there to stop short of the naval ships that were there which was how they were able to justify having all of these bases without being defended. But they're stripping those naval bases away, those naval assets away, to cycle through into the Middle East because it's closest. They can translate from the Western Pacific to the Indian Ocean and then be there in this fastest amount of time. And so when you're looking at all of this coming together, it's not just one thing. And we have to talk a little bit about talking about what China's done. And we need to talk a little bit about what that really means for our ability to compete with China. Because there's some numbers, and there's a lot of numbers, but let me give you one. China has made the shipbuilding ratio for China to the United States is 232 to 1. They're projected to have like 400 surface vessels by 2029. The U.S. fleet is projected to shrink to somewhere around probably 200 because more and more ships every year are slated for retirement. So when we see all of these different things coming together, not only that, but we should even be kind of concerned. China is building a military that can be very imperialist. This is not a small army. This is an army to conquer the Pacific. This is an army to, for the first time ever in my life, the U.S. or in American history, the United States needs to seriously consider whether or not it can hold Guam if China attacks. Because with one THAAD battery, all of those other installations, all those other means of defense, the HIMARS, the entrenched positions, they're more than capable of hitting those at range with standoff capacity that we no longer have. So they're better. They make no mistake. They've modeled their military after the model that we set. And you can say they haven't seen combat. That's generally the argument against China being, competent is sure, they have 400 ships, but they haven't had a real war. I don't think they need a real war to launch missiles at you.
We've had how many real wars in the last decades, and we suck at them right now?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many real wars, quote unquote, real wars that we've had. What are we you can't claim the U.S. has done very well in these wars because we haven't. No. We're losing to Iran in a war that we started. We are losing to Iran. Yep. So we're gonna what? We're gonna Iran is our Ukraine, as well as many of the Latin American countries are going to become our Ukraine too, because we're going to invade with no way of actually winning.
Yeah. It's almost at this point, and we can talk a little bit about the Lincoln while we're here, because this all goes into it as well. And we've been talking about this war. I think it's important to talk about the fact that a lot of these reporting talks about weapon systems, about ammunition, about stockpiles. It's not talking about the people, the operators. Every single one of these things requires an operator. It requires a human element. We are not fighting an AI war as much as you would like them to do that, other than the AI saying, this is a target, shoot at that. It's a school full of children, other than that, there's still a very important human element here. The ships need crews. The planes need pilots. The refueling teams have to be on the airfield. All of these people are working nonstop, 24/7, under the threat of missile bombardment, and they have been doing it for months without rest. They have done this twice now. The Lincoln was having mental health crises. Soldiers were jumping off the ship. There was talk of basically sailors telling their families that they're not even eating. There's no food. All the plumbing is backed up. They're just depressed and miserable. There's thoughts of suicide on the vessel. When you're having all these people jump off the boat, and they
Or
can't,
at least threatening to jump off.
yeah, threatening to jump off the boat, telling their family they're hungry. Like, it's the Navy. There's one thing I know about the Navy. It's that you're on this ship, you're in the middle of the ocean. You know, the way they
They have
make it
some
up
good cooks in the Navy
is
too.
you eat good in the Navy. That's how they make it up to you, right? Like, that's what I was always told. Like, my friends in the Navy, they're like, yeah, say what you will, but like, we eat better than the Marines. We eat better than the armies. Like, the Marines love
The only ones that eat better than everyone else is the Air Force.
Yes.
The Air Force eats better than everyone else. But the Navy has some of the best cooks. The fact that we are, and I was just reading an article about the, let me pull it back up. There's an article about a base control of a base called Diego Garcia, and us moving our resupply points off of coastal shorelines and onto islands in the Indian Ocean because they're safer.
Yep.
For which they are safer against attack. However, we're now adding resupply cost. We don't control that base. We have to ask the UK and soon the government that will own it whether we can use that base. And it's going to add more strain to our logistical supply chain. Supply chain is how you win wars. Manpower, supply chain, food, and medicine are how you win wars. If you can't get anywhere, you can't win a war. If you can't feed your people, you can't win a war. And nobody in the US wants this war. It is raising prices on everything.
The world, it's like, and this is the thing, right? Like, this is what I was thinking about earlier. At this point in time, if I'm China, I can attack the United States openly. I can give them an ultimatum. Leave Taiwan, leave Okinawa, go away. Or
what's happening in North Korea, leave
what's happening in North
the joint operations that Donald Trump is now pulling back from in North Korea or in South Korea, and which is going to hurt our partnership and our allyship with the South Koreans in what appears to be, in my eyes, a retribution campaign because the South Korean president said, no, we're not going to join you in the war against Iran.
So, question, are you saying that they were proposing joint military drills with North Korea?
No, South Korea.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
We perform joint military drills with South Korea. And because Donald Trump's relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, we are pulling back on our operations in South Korea.
It's almost like,
and what it appears to, like I said, it appears in my eyes to be a retribution campaign because the South Korean government said, no, we will not join you in this war against Iran.
Yeah. Well, you know what else that makes me think is everything we've been talking about is missile defense. You know what North Korea is very, very good at, because it's all they've been doing for like decades under Kim Jong-un, is building missiles to threaten Japan and all of those places.
And selling them to Russia and sending their troops to Russia. And nobody wants to talk about that part, is that North Koreans are in Russia attacking the Ukrainians.
Yep. You know, it is so interesting to see all of this kind of play out, because on one side, it's awful. On the other side, it's like the less we are able to do these things, the more it forces us to shrink our influence and the money we spend on all of these bases. I mean, I don't even want to think about the investment from the taxpayer that will be lost when we have to abandon all of these installations, because we've spent, the better part of the last 50, 60 years just building military bases all over the world.
Nearly 100 years since the end of World War II, we have been establishing bases around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so now we have to make decisions. And if China really says, get out, they have to leave. or they're putting tens of thousands of service people directly in harm's way with no effective way to retaliate or defend. Because especially if they took the Washington, I just have to ask myself, how much sweeter can this Taiwan pot get? Like, how much sweeter can it get? Because I don't think it can get much sweeter. And China's been doing a lot of drills. They've been doing a lot of stuff. And if you think it's bad already with all the rare earths, if they take Taiwan, that's it. That's it for our tech industry, because we are at the mercy of China, our ability to innovate and to lead the world in information systems, with which we have to consider. We offshored just about every other industry. We went hard into finance services, information systems, and basically being consumers. But we don't have a really deep economy in terms of all the things that we do. Even Ford and our car companies make their stuff in Mexico, in Canada, right? So we don't even, a lot of this stuff isn't here. If we lose that, it has massive consequences far beyond just, oh, we lost Taiwan and we look like losers and now we need to deploy a bunch of troops into the jungles of South America. Why didn't they read some books from the conquistadors? How did that? Why don't we go back and do some reading of the Spanish missionaries and how easy that was to be traipsing through the jungles and fighting a people that don't want you there? I mean, China doesn't even need to. And we said it earlier, but 3 carriers, and they've got more coming. This is how the US projected its power around the world. They're working on a nuclear one. Right now, they are all diesel powered, but they also, on their newest carrier, have a electromagnetic catapult. The Gerald.
Oh, well, we're planning on going back to steam powered catapults for our launcher, for our launch technology. Donald Trump doesn't like the electromagnetic ones, so we're going to go back to steam powered ones, which we have a carrier being built right now, which means they have to tear out the system that is installed and put a new one in for billions of dollars. And because Donald Trump doesn't like the look of our carriers, he wants them to move the tower towards the middle of the carrier. Not for any other reason other than he thinks it looks better.
Dude, the UK carriers are ugly, and they have their tower in the middle. Also, who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, I think all of these carriers would be better suited if we sink them all in the Gulf of Mexico and then turn them into coral reefs. I think that would do a whole lot more. That's environmental stewardship, is national defense. Turn them into coral reefs, and it's like, sure, let's keep 2 or 3 or 4. We should have 2 per coast. I think that seems reasonable. We have plenty of coastal, defenses. We can, maybe if, but the thing about all of this too is, like, when you have it, you just said that they stopped it. You know what? The first thing they've been tightening down on is rare earth magnets. If you want to do an electromagnetic catapult launch system, you need rare earth magnets, of which we have been dramatically limited. So, Trump will say whatever he says, but I would say that it's likely cover for the fact that they told him, we can't do it. We can't build it. So if you want the ship, and all they're thinking about right now is how do we get another carrier in the water, because they are getting their butts whooped and they don't have enough carriers. So they're probably sitting in that room and going, yeah, we can't build it because we don't have enough rare earth magnets. And, if we want this in the water by, before your presidency is up, we got to go back to steam. Okay. Right. So in that sense, I think that it all just goes in this big circle. It all supports the same thing. It all goes back to the list. It all goes back to the leverage that China has over rare earths. And that means that China is not limited by any of the things any other country is limited by. It means it can scale its military and production as quickly as it wants. It means that China's friends can do that. It means that Iran is getting everything it needs over land through Pakistan. We've talked about this. They even outwardly came out and said it. I remember when the MOU was first signed, I was like, I think they're going to resupply through Pakistan, through the Belt and Road. And they actually came out a couple weeks ago and said it. But that's why Iran is able to reconstitute, because they have good friends, because they're friends with the person who has all the things. Iran is not going anywhere anytime soon, unless the people of Iran are successful in achieving their freedom, which I hope for and I support just as much as I support that here in the United States. I believe people are people everywhere, and I believe that regimes are not representative of their people. And so, in that sense, I kind of think that's really where we are. There's no leverage. It's all gone. It's all gone. And we are at the mercy of China. What we can really hope for, I don't know. I mean, I think as a civilian, as a person who just wants to see us be the priority for once, the people of America be important and not killing other people, someone who would like to see that, and oil, controlling the global flow of oil, I would much rather see these stockpiles dwindle, because in a certain sense, it's like maybe if it becomes untenable, they have to leave, and that will save lives. It's not like they're going to stop. It's one of those things where it's going to be bad either way. But if we don't have missiles to shoot, and we don't have missiles to make, it's going to force us to be smaller. As it forces us to be smaller, it forces us to give these people in power less influence, which levels the playing field for us and them. They are basically the ones who are leveling themselves down slowly, bit over bit. It also means they can't turn these things against us. Every piece of military hardware that they would have given to ICE, I guarantee you that's now going to the military. All these things, right? There's a lot less deliverables. Like, they were going to deliver some of this tech to ICE, I bet. That's no longer a priority. Wartime priority always usurps just about everything, right? And so,
No, but they can definitely give electric shock gloves to ICE so that they can torture and kill
oh
people.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, fucking hate those guys. My childhood gardener got abducted by ICE. Uh, so my mom was telling me that the gardener didn't come. So yeah, the gardener that has taken care of my family's yard for as long as I can remember, and he had to go to Mexico because his father was ill. And when he came back, he was married to a U.S. citizen, but we know that doesn't matter to ICE, even though he's been paying taxes and working hard, and just being an overall valued.
If it mattered to ICE, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't be doing it, and they wouldn't be doing it to service member families.
Yeah, yeah, their service members are dying, and ICE is fucking literally
Taking their
abducting their
families.
families. It's ridiculous, right? Like, it is, and I've done enough reading to know that, like, his wife might not ever see him again. There's a real chance that he's just gone now, and that is deeply saddening, right, for everybody to just kind of think about that. But it all kind of circles back, because ICE has orders. ICE wants weapons. ICE wants these things. You know what? They are losing power every day. They lose capital, and they have so much more to lose than we do. They have everything to lose, right? Look at Elon Musk. Look at Peter Thiel. Look at Donald Trump. They have billions of dollars to lose. We're pinching pennies. It's not like we have money in the bank. So wherever it ends up, for the vast majority of us, it's only going to be up from here. So um in that sense, they are the ones who are losing. We're losing because they're in power, but their loss is our gain. The less missiles we have, the less they can justify keeping things in these places, the more our ability to coerce attack and be harmful goes down. And I am grasping for silver linings here, folks, because there really isn't a ton, but I'd like to give you something. I try, and I would say that is my silver lining, and that every Tomahawk missile that we shoot that we can't rebuild is a certain percentage of harm that we can no longer cause to innocent people. And I, unfortunately, like, that is where I kind of look at these things is that. So, Nick, I want to hand it off to you. Kind of your thoughts on all that, and then kind of got my piece said here, I think.
I think as we close out our show today, we can remind ourselves that all of this is self-inflicted, that we are showing what happened to the USSR at the end of at the end of the USSR, where they overinflated their military power and were found to be lacking. We're showing ourselves, and we're showing our whole asses while we're doing it. And as we continue to show our whole asses to the whole world, we will have to contract. And whether that contraction is a good or a bad thing, it's going to happen in a way that is unexpected. And it's going to happen in a way that hurts American citizenry rather than helps. Because this regime does not care about us. It does not care about our needs. It cares about them and their needs. It cares about the tiny few and not all of us, not the many. They're out of few. They become one powerful fascistic regime. We're the many. And so the final thing I'll say is be part of the many that stands up to do something. Yeah. Be part of the many that stops just listening and hearing what's going on, but starts acting and starts doing to stop and prevent more harm from being done. Because we can't stop all the harm that's happening, but we can prevent more from happening. We don't have to go through the big cycle period where, like, Germany became a Nazi nation. We don't have to actually go through that whole sequence. We've seen what happens in history. We've already seen the crimes. We have to have the power to stop them. And we have to have the power to force our legislature to do something. Yeah. And that requires us getting up, getting active, getting more involved, finding every way that you can be involved, and making yourself a little uncomfortable while you do it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because you are going to put yourself in situations that you are not used to. But you need to take that first step. And if you haven't taken that first step yet, do it. Yep. I understand it's scary. I understand it can be hard and scary if you need to go to a protest, or you're afraid to reach out to your representative, or you're afraid to talk at your city council meeting, or you're afraid to talk at a school board meeting. Those are important. Be the one. Be the person who steps up. Be the Melissa Corrigan. Be the Melissa Corrigan of the world.
Yes.
Go out and be a Melissa Corrigan and go stand up when it's necessary. Go speak out when it's necessary. And right now, it's necessary. Yeah. So go speak up and speak out. Because if we don't, if we, not you, if we all don't, these conversations are going to eventually become very, very, very much worse.
Yeah.
No, that was a bad use of English.
We want to talk about other things. Like,
yeah, I'd love to talk about the tech and not just the fascism part.
Yes.
But we're in the fascism part, y'all. Palantalk is tech, no fascism.
No fascism.
But guess what? We are in tech with fascism, or tech is fascism.
Yeah.
We can get past
it. I actually think that's a better way to describe it. At the moment, tech is fascism. I like the people who own the tech are fascists. So, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So to close ourselves out, Let's promote our work and where people can find us.
Guys,
It starts with me today.
Nick, go support Nick. Nick is doing the right work. Nick is involved with so many different organizations and groups. He is building all kinds of cool tools that I've had the opportunity to kind of start to play with and use, and definitely will continue to use those things. All of those things he's doing are contributing to our ability to resist. What me and Nick do best is help you guys resist in the information space, in this space where we can kind of bring you this information, encourage these conversations, and help guide our communities to these ideals that we really want. Nick does that, and he does a lot more speaking up for people with disabilities, talking about these societal issues that we really need to change regarding masculinity and things like that. So support all of Nick's work, regardless of what he's doing. Do that at Sick of This Shit Publications. And do it for me, if not for yourself, and if not for Nick, do it for. Nick's not enough, do it for me and Nick.
Do it for Shane.
Do it for me. Support.
Do Nick. It for Shane. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate you. Yeah, come help support me here at Sick of the Shit Publications. That's my primary home for a lot of my shows, and where we're focusing on the better humaning aspects and the cultural aspects, because politics are downstream from culture. And if we can change the culture of this country to one that isn't toxic, patriarchal bullshit, that isn't techno-fascism, maybe we'll be in a better place. Isn't abuse as a system, we'll be in a better place. So come help me spread the message. Come help us widen our reach and expand to a larger audience and bring more people into the discussions on disability rights, chronic illness, visibility with our disabilities, masculinity, and better humaning. Sick of This Shit Publications is where you want to go. Thanks. And now for my good friend Shane Yerrick. Come support, come subscribe, come donate, do all the things for the Firebrand Project. Shane is doing some really incredible work. He has been putting together war maps and detailed assessments around what's going on in Iran. He's had really good spot-on analysis for the last months. Like months, he has been going to a year, like if not longer. Like Shane and I have been doing this for just about a year, if not longer now. And his analysis is incredible. And so if you want, go support Shane for me. For me, go support my brother Shane, because do it for me. Do it for this guy, because Shane is freaking awesome. Shane is doing really good, really hard work and analysis. He is putting together his own set of tools that hopefully can help broaden our reach and expand visibility in open source intelligence and analysis. And he's doing a really good job at it. So Shane, take it away for yourself, dude.
Yeah. Basically what Nick said, I'm very grateful. Thank you for that praise. I am really at this point in my career here as an independent analyst, in, working with Nick and everything I've learned. I think the most important thing I can do is use my skills, my knowledge, my ability to, perform this kind of analysis to bring you guys the information that is as verifiably true as we can get. And I have been getting better. And so I would be very grateful if you guys could go and check out my work, subscribe. Article I just put out last week is doing pretty well. Go check that one out. It explains a lot more about this discussion that we had. And this discussion was a great primer. So I encourage you to go and read that article. And support free, paid, and independent donations, whatever you are capable of doing. I'm grateful to you. And if that's just reading, leaving a comment, liking, restacking, because engagement is just as important as your paid subscription, genuinely. So whether it's Nick, me, Banner and Backbone, whatever the case may be, make sure you're engaging on all three fronts. It's like a checklist, right? So you want to make sure you read it, you like it, you comment, you restack. And then if you know someone, would like to join that discussion, send it someone else's way too. But that's just as important and helpful. So both of those things, and this applies to Banner and Backbone as well. And you got to support Banner and Backbone. Banner and Backbone is our home. It's the home of Palantalk. It's the home of a lot of other great shows. And it's the primary vehicle that, Nick uses and I use to advocate for a progressive and encompassing, supportive democracy, the country that we want to start working towards. It's about, raising the banner and having the backbone to hold it high. And please.
It's about reclaiming integrity, service, and ethics throughout the U.S. in our culture, in our political system, in our dialogue, in how we treat each other. It's about reclaiming, recapturing, and rebuilding them. And we can do that. Come support Banner and Backbone to help do that. That's what this network is for. It's for Palantalk. Right now, we have 2 shows on Banner and Backbone, and they're 2 incredible discussions that we have. Mondays and Fridays. Bookend your week with them. We've got Palantalk here, where we talk tech.
No fascism.
And we've got the Anti-Fascist Book Club, where we teach and explore and learn about anti-fascism, what it means to be anti-fascist, to be anti-fascism, and to be against it. And then what you can do, how you get engaged, and how you bring that to yourself and your community. And so come support Banner and Backbone so that you can take that first step into civics and then take the next ones after, because those are what matter. That first step is important, but the steps after are almost more important, because that's when you stay engaged and you'll realize that you really like it. It's really fun. You can be amazing and get incredible self-rewards out of it. Shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. When you do civics, you feel good. Shh, don't tell anybody.
It's not that big of a burden. It's actually kind of fun to have a community.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool. So, just in case you guys forgot, make sure next week you come to Palantalk next Monday, because this is Palantalk, where we talk tech.
No fascism. Thanks, y'all.
Reverse.
Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Monday. Have a good week, and we'll see you back here next Monday. Thanks, y'all.
Bye, everyone.